Soundstripe. Soundstripe. Soundstripe.
Welcome in, everybody, to Lock In Live NFL Week 8 with Uncle Phil and Smooth Andy. Smooth Andy's out today on the bye, so it's just Uncle Phil and I. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Really appreciate it every Saturday and Sunday. We love you guys. Uncle Phil, how are you doing this morning?
Man, I'm fantastic. Look, another squeaked out another winning week in college football yesterday, which was good. Again, really kind of goes with what I thought. I think I went 2-3-1 2 weeks ago. This past week, I went 4-3-1. I liked the lines better yesterday. It showed in my record. Really try to give you guys a heads up when I like the lines, and did. And so squeaked one out. Probably should have done a little bit better than that. Georgia State kind of was a tough one for me. But anyway, excited about today. NFL's been fun the past few weeks. 4 weeks ago was a terrible week, but since then we've been on the incline and I've really been seeing things well, and I've killed it the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I went back and looked at the numbers, and on your public NFL plays, you're 16-6 in your last, 2023. So that's like 73%. So, man, we've seen this before. As the season goes on, the picks start to get better, and then when you're hitting in that 73% range, I mean, that's rarefied air for sports handicapping. So let's keep it up, man. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look, it's I think people, probably hear on social media that this person, these crazy guys that come in and say, hey, they're 90% or whatever. Nobody's that way. Look, 1% of the world's handicappers actually make money. And I'm part of that 1%. I've always have been. It's just been something I've been talented enough to do. It's what I see well. It's the top 1% that get to 56% and above. And that's where I live. So we're there, and, I plan on keeping us there.
Absolutely. Before we get into your picks, one other thing I wanted to note, it seems as if when you added some of the teasers in NFL, those have just been crushing it. What kind of goes into the success with the teasers, and should we continue to look out for those as the season goes on?
Yeah, look, man, teasers become a lot easier for me, especially, after a few weeks when I start seeing the teams well. Look, from probably week 2 or 3 on, teasers become very profitable for me. I mean, we're 7-3 in the primetime teasers, or I'm 7-3 in my primetime teasers I give away that I put out on X. I think I'm 65% overall, including notebook teasers. So, look, those are really good, and I know everybody enjoys those.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, let's get to it. Where are we heading first, Uncle Phil?
Yeah, we are headed to for my first lock. We're headed to the city that rocks, and we're going to Cleveland. Look, Baltimore's coming in off of a short week. They're banged up in the secondary. Marlon Humphrey's a big loss. Also lost a cornerback that's going to be out today. Again, a short week, travel week from Tampa, then over to Cleveland. Cleveland, on the other hand, gets a very positive injection with Jameis Winston at quarterback. From what I understand, everything that I've been told by someone in that organization, look, Jameis is a seasoned veteran, even though Deshaun Watson could be and should be. When Jameis comes up, he really doesn't call protections for the offensive line, and he doesn't really change those. Jameis Winston recognizes those things a lot easier, and you'll see a noticeable difference in that day. He calls protections. Supposedly, I've also been told that Deshaun Watson gets in the building at 7:30 in the morning, where Jameis Winston gets in the building at 5:30. Look, 2 hours may not make a difference, but I think it does. All that injection into that. Give me Cleveland +8 is my very first pick. The next place we're going to Washington, where Chicago's coming to play. Really interesting game to kind of handicap. The unknown about Jaden Daniels. I know he's playing, but I don't know how long. And what I've been told from people inside the building, that they don't know how long he's going to be playing today either. They know he's pretty banged up, but they know he's going. But I'll tell you again, it comes down to what do I trust? What I trust is I trust that that Jaden Daniels will play well, and I love that that he's coming in with scripted plays. Unfortunately, Chicago, for whatever reason, they're the only team in the league that doesn't script plays for their quarterback, and especially for a rookie quarterback, he's not scripted any plays. And typically, Chicago gets off to a little bit of a slow start. So again, with that slow start in mind, with a fast start on Washington's, which I anticipate them getting off to because of Cliff Kingsbury. He's a pro's pro, right? I think that, and I don't know how long Jaden Daniels is going to play. I like Washington plus a half of a point in the first quarter. So give me that one. Those are my two best bets today. Like I said, I have a lock that's my bonus pick is in my notebook. I really, really like my bonus pick today, but I like all my picks today, so I'm excited about NFL.
That's fantastic stuff. Yeah, that should be a great game. Daniels versus Caleb, 1 versus 2, and interesting pick. I actually, just thinking through your analysis, I think that's really cool and awesome. So,
yep,
let's hope that one cashes, and let's get a 2-0 today on those, and let's crush the notebook.
Yep.
To our community, feel free to start shooting the comments. I already see them coming in on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. We'll get to those, but before we do that, in Smooth Andy's absence, I'd like to just read off his picks today. I'm guessing a lot of you that follow the show kind of have an idea on what type of plays Smooth Andy is going to be on today. And he has sent his picks as he's on New England, and he's on Las Vegas, and he's on Tennessee. So 3 dogs. If I were to guess, they're probably not public contrarian bets. So miss Smooth Andy. Wish he was here to give us his analysis on those 3, but I'd be remiss if I didn't get those out to the audience.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did that. Appreciate you reading those out. Certainly we'll have Smooth Andy back on Tuesday night. We do our NFL Week 9 preview, and of course, obviously next week for college and NFL Lock and Live. But I think Smooth Andy's in general, I think he's going to have a pretty good day today. Look, the public has feasted the past 2 weeks, and there's no way Vegas lets this go 3 weeks in a row. I think this is going to be a very interesting day, and I think the public's going to get taken out to the woodshed this week. At least that's my feeling. I think there's some games here that are some completely trap lines today.
Absolutely. Love that analysis. Well, let's get to the comments. What do you say, Uncle Phil?
Let's get after it.
Awesome. We'll start first off the line. We got G Paras on YouTube. He says, thoughts on Miami today?
Yeah. Look, it was on my big board to take Miami. Let me just, I'll tell you this. I pulled it off my big board, and I pull off some winners. Yesterday, my big board, I had I had 14 plays on my big board of college. I ended up going instead of the 4-3-1 on my notebook, I went 8-5-1 on my big board. So I all of a sudden pull off some winners. And I'm afraid I may have pulled off a winner here. I do like Miami. I'll say I don't like Miami in general. I don't think they were a good team before Tua got hurt. But I do think today will be a little bit of a bump for them. The Cardinals come in again off a Monday night game where they've kind of struggled the past couple of weeks. They've won, but I just haven't felt real great. Kyler Murray hasn't won back-to-back games in 3 years, so I don't expect him to win today. I think it's a bad matchup. They have a terrible run defense. I think that Miami will exploit that. Carolina are the Cardinals also are one of the worst teams in the entire NFL at covering passes inside that 20-yard range, and that's just exactly where Miami lives. They're going to light it up. They're going to Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle are going to be crisscrossing across the top, within that 15-20-yard range, and they're just going to light the Cardinals up. I think it's a terrible matchup for the Cardinals, but I just don't like Miami, and I don't trust them. But I'm going to regret pulling that one off the big board, but I like that game a lot.
All right, sweet. Thanks for the question, G. Next on the line, we got Andrew from Dallas. Andrew, good to see you, man. It's always great to have you in here Saturdays and Sundays. Wouldn't be the same without you. Yes, what do you see happening late between San Fran and Dallas? San Fran -5, question mark?
Yeah, I'll probably put out a teaser tonight on that one. It's not in the notebook. I didn't have it. McCarthy's great off a bye. That's a statistic you'll hear all morning. And then you also hear that Shanahan owns the Cowboys. I mean, he wins these games. This is a San Francisco game to win. I don't believe, if you followed me for a while, I don't believe in the Cowboys. I don't think coming off a bye is going to fix their problems. I mean, again, Dak has a losing record when he doesn't have a 100-yard rusher. I don't expect him to rush 100 yards today. Again, Dallas coming off a bye, and they're the least healthy team of the two, and San Francisco's played last week. So, look, San Francisco gets Kittle back. They get Debo back. Deron Bland's out for the Cowboys. Michael Parsons out for the Cowboys. I just, again, think it's a mismatch. I think that San Francisco will probably run the ball. I think for me, the play I like the best is probably the under in that game.
Sweet. Well, thanks for the question, Andrew. Next up, we got Dante. Man, a lot of familiar faces. Dante, as always, good to see you as well. He says, what do you think about Falcons money line? There's no Godwin. There's no Mike Evans. Seems like Baker may struggle.
Yeah. See, I think just the opposite. On my big board, I've got Tampa plus 22.5. I pulled Tampa off. Didn't like it enough to make my final notebook. But I think the public immediately goes to this one side of the boat and goes, hey, Godwin's out and Mike Evans are out. Their two biggest weapons. What are they going to do? Well, look, the great thing for Baker is that he's going to have plenty of time to throw because, again, Atlanta can't generate a pass rush. They're the worst in the NFL at generating a pass rush. They've got 6 sacks this entire year. I mean, that's what, some teams get in the game. I can't even imagine that. So Baker's going to have plenty of time to throw. I think Tampa's probably the better team. I think that's the only thing that made me hesitate is that Godwin and of course Evans being out. But I think Vegas is trying to lure you in with Atlanta. And I was not falling for it, but I watched the game. But it's not enough for me to put my hard-earned money on today.
Sounds good. Next on the line, we got Chevy Bra from YouTube. He says, can you tell me about the Bengals versus Eagles?
Look, that's an evenly matched. I mean, as far as it's pretty even game. I like the total a lot, and it's in my notebook. so I won't speak on that, but I'll kind of talk about the sides. Look, I've kind of gone back and forth with this. T. Higgins, surprise, surprise, he's not in the lineup again. Kind of a weird deal that he's always injured, but he's really valuable. Joe Burrow, though, still at the helm. Joe Burrow's got, I think, the fourth best QBR in the NFL today. So I think that's a good one. I think everybody's pretty high on the Eagles after they dismantled the Giants. But again, the Giants are just not a good team, especially without their left tackle, Andrew Thomas. The Eagles have feasted on bad teams, but against competent offenses, they're giving up about 27 points a game. Look, I think that Cincinnati's probably the side on this, but since they don't have T. Higgins, I pulled off of it. I jumped on the total. We'll see. I'm not crazy about Jalen Hurts. Again, I've watched some film of him this past week against the Giants. He's still missing wide open throws. He's still throwing to the wrong guy. On that 4th and 3, everybody's like, wow, he threw it all the way down the field to A.J. Brown and threw this touchdown pass on 4th and 3 from midfield. That was the wrong read. There were 3 guys that were kind of in a triangle formation that were about 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, which was designed to get him the first down. But instead, he goes rogue and he throws it. It worked out for him this time, but most time in those cases when he's gone rogue, it's turned into an interception. He's also – watch Caleb Williams' feet today. His feet are perfect. They sit in one spot and they stay there. Jalen Hurts is bouncing. His feet bounce, and it's causing his throws to be inaccurate. I'm not crazy about that. I think Cincinnati's probably the side today. But again, I pulled off of because T. Higgins is out.
Sweet. Thanks for the question, Chevy. Next on the line, we will go to Wanda. Wanda on Twitter asks, what do you think about the Jaguars today?
Look, I think that's an interesting game. First, when the lines first came out, I was all over Green Bay today. I even had it in my big book, and I pulled off of it because the money is coming. This is a line where I think is a trap line. I feel like the Jags are actually going to probably win the game today, and I have no reason why. The Jags are coming off of their trip to London. Neither them or New England got a bye after an international game, which is unusual. It happens sometimes, but it happens more often than not that you get a bye after that. They did not. You would think that, again, the public's like, hey, just because they beat New England doesn't make the Jags. Their Jags are still bad. But there is something about this game. That line has gone from 4 to 3.5. It tells me that the Jags are the side, but I just don't have the guts to play it. But I'm telling you guys right now, the Jags are going to win that game, and I don't even know how. Maybe the interceptions finally catch up with Jordan Love. He throws at least one every game, and maybe this is the time where it does. But I just can't imagine the Jags doing anything with that offense that Jeff Hafley or that defense that Jeff Hafley's created. It seems like Green Bay's the side. They should win it going away. But for whatever reason, the sharp money, which is usually the late money, which is usually the smart money, and the late money has come in on the Jag side. And that to me is, again, probably regret it, but it just feels like this is a Jags game to me. And I have no reason why to think that.
I love it. Next up, we're going to Chris Peters on Twitter. He says, hey, Uncle Phil, what are your thoughts on the Panthers? I want to hear your thoughts on the Panthers too.
Look, the Panthers are in a fire sale. For whatever reason, the Sharps are kind of coming in on Carolina, and I don't believe it. I don't buy that one. I had Denver in my big board. I pulled it off. Look, Bryce Young starting because Andy Dalton and his family were in a car accident, and he's a little banged up. So he's starting, and he wouldn't be starting otherwise. And they weren't great with Andy Dalton in the game. So, Denver's got this unbelievable blitz. I mean, this just feels like a really tough game. I mean, there's some key pieces for Carolina that are about to go on a fire sale before the trading deadline coming up here in about a week and a half. So I just, teams typically, when the ownership starts giving up on the team kind of does the same. And it's hard for me to see that that Carolina comes in and covers the spread. But, Bo Nix, again, just doesn't impress me. I mean, my gosh, how many open throws did he miss against the Saints? So if you played anything, I'd probably lean toward the under in that game. But like I said, I'm not playing it. But if you played anything, I came real close to playing Denver in the first half. I think they'll probably cover that. Carolina typically gets off to a slow start. They give up, I think they've given up like an average of about 22 points in the first half. So I think that they'll probably cover the spread in the first half. But I like Denver there. But I just that double-digit number is a big number to me, so I stay away.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the question, Chris. We'll take a couple more here. We got Travian Smith from Twitter. He says he's going to the Texans-Colts game today. Any thoughts on your end?
Nice. Well, first of all, have fun. Look, it's an odd deal for me in the divisional matchup. The lines, last I looked, was around 5. Typically you'd probably bet the underdog in that game. Divisional matchups are a little closer than that. But look, I just don't believe in Anthony Richardson. I mean, it's very clear they have a better shot at winning with Joe Flacco, and they're continuing to start Anthony Richardson. This is an ownership decision. This is not a Shane Steichen decision. And I just don't. I think Anthony Richardson is long on talent, but he is short on everything else that makes a good quarterback. I'm not sure that you can fix that. I mean, his QBR right now is just about his career QBR is about the same as Tim Tebow's. I mean, it's really it's below Jamarcus Russell's, if that tells you anything. So it's not this doesn't seem like it's going to work to me. But again, do I trust Houston? Houston hasn't looked like the Houston of last year. They got Nico Collins out. I don't like that. Houston's offensive line, especially the interior of it, is not great. Unless they have Joe Mixon, which I think is probably what they're going to do today, is probably have a heavy dose of Joe Mixon. It's a tough day when Joe Mixon's out. I bet against Houston, but he's in. But again, I just don't trust him. I think the line's a little big. I wish it were a little bit lower. 5 was just a little bit too much. But this does feel like a game where Houston, 5 is typically a dead number, and you typically would bet the favorite on that. I would typically bet Houston on this one because of the number, but I just don't trust Houston to do that, even though I am not a fan of Anthony Richardson at all.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks for the question to Travion, and enjoy the game.
Yeah.
Next up, we're going to go to Andrew Behan on Twitter. He says, Seahawks thoughts, Bills on a tough spot.
Yeah, it is. Look, I think Seahawks are interesting. They're getting their defensive line healthy. They look, as long as you give Geno Smith time, he can, if you don't have a big pass rush, he's going to do well. Both these teams, I think, are going to feast over the middle. It's where both teams are weak. And that's where both the teams, I think that both Josh Allen and Geno Smith, I think they live. I think it's a good matchup. Probably going to be a higher scoring game. I think that you'll see that today. Bills want you to throw outside the numbers. Geno Smith wants to throw inside. That's where the Bills are weak. But again, it's also where Seattle is weak, is inside the numbers. You're going to see a lot of passes over the middle. I think it's probably going to be a higher scoring game in this one. If that's where I played, I'd probably play that one. This is pros versus Joes. The public is all over the Bills, and the pros are on Seattle. I don't like Seattle enough to put my hard-earned money. If I played anything, I'd probably lean toward the over.
Sweet. Thanks for the question, Andrew. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to take a fantasy football question that came in from TikTok. Jaden Daniels or Tua? Who would you start today?
Oh, I'd start Tua. I think there's a higher – he's going to – look, again, what I talked about earlier, Tua is going to live over the middle of the field, and that's where those quick passes over the middle, and that's where Arizona is the weakest in the league at covering that inside the 15 to 20-yard range. I think they'll just absolutely kill them, and I think Tua also will finish the game. I do not know if Jaden Daniels will. It could be – you remember yesterday, quarterback from Missouri tried to go, couldn't finish the game. Could be another situation here where Jaden Daniels doesn't finish the game. He wants to play. I mean, like he said, this is a chip on his shoulder because Chicago didn't take him at number one. Also, the battle of number one quarterbacks or the two top rookie quarterbacks. But he wants to play. But his injuries are real, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't finish the game. One sack and he may be out. So again, that's why I'm getting my money early. I'm going to take Washington the first quarter, and I'm out of the game. I'm just going to sit back and watch from there on out. But wouldn't be surprised if Mariota was in before halftime.
Yeah, and just to add to your thoughts, we had a question come in from YouTube, KXRT. He says, what do you think Commanders Bears for the full game? Obviously, your first quarter, Washington. Do you have any thoughts based on your analysis on how that game ends up?
Yeah, I don't. It really depends on how long Jaden Daniels is going to be there, and I just don't think we know. Look, I think when Jaden Daniels goes out, you hammer the live line for Chicago because Mariota did well last week because he wasn't rushed. I think it's going to be a different deal this year. This Bears defense is real. Jaden Daniels will take care of business today, but Mariota will not have. He doesn't have the tools that Jaden Daniels, of course, not many people do, that Jaden Daniels does. And I think you hammer the live line, whatever that is for Chicago at that point.
Awesome. I'll look for that, no doubt. We'll take one more. It's from Andrew from Dallas. He comes in. He says, before you go, what's your Super Bowl favorite? He needs a ticket. He's itching for a Super Bowl bet.
Yeah. Look, I would take Detroit. It's my Super Bowl favorite right now. I just don't think that look, I love Lamar, but I think that back end catches up with them, their defense. What I would take if I were you, if I were taking a really, really long shot ticket right now, I would take one on the Rams. The Rams are getting healthy. They just said after the game, after they won the other night, I think it was a very pivotal point. If they lost that game, they were trading Cooper Kupp, but they won it. And Sean McVay came out at the end after the game, said he was not trading them. The Rams are just about to get healthy, and that defensive line is nasty. They're about to get, they're young and they're playing themselves into being older. I'd take a flyer on the Rams right now. I think that could be a really interesting pick right now. But I'd take a flyer on them, but I like Detroit.
Yeah, I love that. They look great versus Minnesota. Do you know what the line is for futures? 30, 40 to 1, I'd say.
I don't know. I mean, it's whatever it is. I'd take a flyer on that.
Absolutely. Well, Uncle Phil, we've gone almost 30 minutes. We got football in an hour. Any last words before we take off?
No, again, I just, if you're on a lot of public teams today, and if you're on a lot of favorites, I might reduce your card a little bit. I think that, again, Vegas is they've let the public have their way. It's like the parents went on vacation. The kids have been throwing parties for 2 weeks. I think the parents are coming back, and they're going to instill some justice today. I think justice will be instilled to the public today, and I think today is going to be a bad day for the public. So be careful on that. Look at that. And if you just can't wrap your mind in playing some underdogs, you just don't have the stomach for that. Look at possibly playing some totals. You'll probably have some better luck there. But guys, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you making time for us today. Always a pleasure to talk with you guys. Thanks so much. We know you have a choice when tuning in. Again, Smooth Andy's not here, but please follow him at SmoothAndy5 on Twitter. That's only where he lives. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. I'm on X, and I'm on Instagram. Please follow me there. Really appreciate you guys. As always, guys, let's have a day and let's roll.
Soundstripe.